On this bonus episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, we have an interview for you, prospect spotlighting Anthony Gould, wide receiver from Oregon State. We're going to talk about how nuanced he is, the chip on his shoulder, and what type of person he is and brings to an NFL franchise. We'll talk about this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout and a senior draft analyst. And thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day, guys. Shout out for being our everydayers, man. We appreciate and love y'all. Again, I'm solo dolo on this bonus pod, bringing you special guest interview with prospect out of Oregon State, wide receiver Anthony Gould. He's going to talk about himself, his game, and everything else. But guys, before we get into that, we got to talk about today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get or will get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. And guys, to get started, let's get started and let's go ahead and bring in and showcase this sit down that I have with Oregon State star wide receiver Anthony Gould. All right, everybody, I got a special guest with me. Oregon State wide receiver Anthony Gould. Ant, what's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, appreciate you tapping in and coming on to the show, man. Our everydayers are definitely going to love this, man. I think the first thing I want to talk to you about, bro, is just kind of talk to us, man. You know, what made you choose Oregon State as a place that you wanted to go to school and finish?
Oh yeah, so I mean, I didn't really have too many options coming out of high school, so they were my only offer. And a lot of schools wanted me to play DB. That's I didn't feel like that was the best for me. I like scoring football, so I wanted to go play wideout. So Fence A. Henson, Jake Cookus, Coach Smith, they were all pretty big on me coming in and playing wideout. So I took that opportunity and ran with it. But Corvallis, it's a great college town. If you haven't been out there, not much to do besides really focus on ball and lock in on ball in school. So I wouldn't change it. Even if I had all those offers, looking back on it. But I took that opportunity and I ran with it. So.
No, for sure, man. For sure. I mean, I think, watching your game, man, one of the things that stands out is your speed. You know what I mean? But for, one thing is evaluate. You see a lot of guys come into the league that can run fast, but especially at the wide receiver position, they're not the most nuanced. And one thing I appreciate, I think it's underrated about your game, is that you play with such a tempo and pace that your speed kind of overwhelms guys at times. You know what I mean? Because you can go from 0 to 60 so quick, man. Kind of talk to us. Going into that process. What really helps you with that nuance to the game, with your stem work, your routes? What's kind of gone into that for you?
Oh yeah, that was something I really had to learn once I got to college. Was every route doesn't need to be 100%, and I feel like really these last 2 years, I really was able to show that, put that on tape, and really just get more comfortable. Just being more crafty, being more efficient at maybe 60-70% compared to 100. But now I've been down here in Miami for a couple months now. I've been out with Gold Feet, TA. That's my guy. So getting in to work with him a couple times a week, and doing whatever I can to really just work on my craft. Whether it's setting people up, head and shoulders with the feet. That's something we put a lot of work in. Even when we were in Frisco, at the East West, I was working out with them every night at 9 o'clock at night, just doing little stuff, trying to get right for the next practice. So, I'm blessed to be able to link up with him, and but it's really just focusing on my craft, watching and even watching guys tape. I like I tell people a lot, I like to watch a lot of like Stevie Johnson, Doug Baldwin, some of those older cats who really brought, that craftiness to the game. I always say, it's just like playing basketball on the field. So I really just think of it like that mindset of, I just like playing hoop on the field. And luckily I'm fast to where I can play with my tempos. I can go from 0 to 60, 60 to 100 in the same route and, really, really turn it up and shut it down. So, yeah, just putting that work in, that's really been the biggest thing. But just really, I know there were some question marks around my game, coming into really this pre-draft process was, he's a speed guy, but how crafty is he? So I wanted to go out east west and really show out. I can win on those intermediate, those short game routes. Setting people up and being crafty. I'm not just a deep threat taking the top off. So yeah, put some work in to get there, but I feel like I showed people that I'm have that part of my game too.
No, I love to hear that, man, because it shows on tape, bro. It shows on tape just kind of how intelligent you are as a player. Understanding leveraging, pre-snap leverage for the DB and everything, and how you want to stem those guys and get them off the spot so that you can open space for your routes. But talk to us, like you said, you didn't have a lot of offers coming out, right? So typically, anytime you hear that, that a player has that chip on his shoulder. When you walked into Frisco, when you walked into the Shrine Bowl with that opportunity, did you walk in with that chip on your shoulder, like I want to prove why I'm one of the best guys out here?
Man, I've had that chip on my shoulder since I've been little. I've always been a fast guy, but I'm not that big. So I've always been overlooked. But I've had that chip on my shoulder since high school. Really, every like I said, since I was little, since the day I stepped on foot in campus at Oregon State. There was a lot of question marks around my game, and I was more of a raw guy, kind of had to develop. But I knew who I was as a player, and I knew who I was as a person. So I've always had that chip on my shoulder, and it didn't fall off come Frisco, and especially I feel like I'm not the most overly hyped guy, which I don't mind with. I like it that way. So walking into Frisco, I didn't expect too many eyes on me, but I always told myself that when I get on that grass, people are gonna be talking about what I do, and there's just having that chip on my shoulder and making sure I go out and I leave no doubt on the field of there's no question marks around my game. People are gonna cut on the tape and wish they they knew who I was a little bit earlier. But I just play like that and keep that mentality throughout my whole life, no matter what it is. So um, yeah, definitely. I felt like I was not as talked about going into the first go, which being in the West Coast, there's not really too many people on the Midwest and East Coast watching our games. So I understand it, but I took it as a little bit of a disrespect thing, too. So I really just wanted to go in and really stamp that, and really just show people that I'm one of those ones, and I feel like I capped off Frisco with that pretty well.
No, 100%, man. That punt return for the touchdown in that game was probably one of the biggest highlights of that game. And you showcased that versatility, right? Not just as a receiver, but the value. We always talk about in this pod, the more you can do, the better. Because at the end of the NFL level, they're always looking for guys that can contribute in a multitude of ways. And you've shown that, man. I think for you talk about kind of how you've crafted your game, especially being a smaller receiver, right? Not hitting the threshold of 6'1", 6'2", 215 pounds, being that X receiver. But for you, being that 5'8", 5'9", and having that frame that you have, how have you kind of curated and created your game to where it's not as much of a disadvantage as people believe?
Oh yeah, so like you said, the versatility, that's a big thing for me. So when I first got to school with to this day, him always saying, if you want to make it into the league, you got to be able to do multiple things. So I've always took pride in learning the playbook. Being able to be the guy that because we ran a lot of personnel at Oregon State, so being the guy that I'm bouncing around from Z to X to H, which is the slot offense, to F. I'm playing all four positions out there. So the more like you said, the more you can do, the more valuable you are. So, but yeah, when it comes to separating myself, I think it was I struggled my first 2 years at Oregon State. I didn't catch a ball, didn't really play too much. Um, but yeah, just keeping my head down and working and knowing that my time was eventually going to come. We had a pretty deep and loaded receiver room when I first got there. Um, but I got to learn from guys like Isaiah Hodgins and Trevon Bradford. Guys who showed me what it is like to if you want to make it to that next level, you have to do this day in and day out, and just being able to do those things and just being able to win with my game style, my game plan. I feel like there were a little bit times in my career where I was trying to do a little bit too much and I wasn't playing like the player I am, and just going back to my true self of winning with speed, but also understanding who I'm going against. That's something that's big for me. Even at practice East West film, I'm watching other guys reps of who they're lined up against to see how he plays against that type of body style. It might not be a fast guy like me or a quicker guy like me, but I'm seeing how he's playing press versus a guy who is maybe 6'2". Seeing if how he moves against that, and really just to send down and being detailed and very intentional. Everything is how I like to phrase it, because you got to be intentional in this game, and when it comes to the details and doing everything with intent, that's where I really separated myself.
This next segment is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing later this week. Guys, I'm so happy it's fully draft season, all right? And you wouldn't be here if it wasn't. It's draft season, okay? No more football. Senior Bowl's done. Super Bowl's done. We're heading to the scouting combine, the NFL scouting combine in Indianapolis next week. And I can't wait to be in the building and see these young men run, jump, throw, and just go out there and be the stars that they are. So I'm excited about that, guys. And I'm pretty sure that you are too. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems in our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Visit betterhelp.com/locked on for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on. Nah, for sure, man. I love to hear that, bro. And I think, like I said, the work ethic, the attention to detail, man. You a lot of that's something that is missing at times where, like you said, you're watching guys like as they're practicing to see, all right, where can I find my path to success? And that's the type of student of the game that fans want on their team, and that NFL coaches and GMs want on their team as well. Man, during your time at Corvallis, bro, in this past year, getting DJU, you know what I mean? One of my guys, one of my favorite guys that I watch in college football as a quarterback. I want to get you to talk about him a little bit. Him and your big running back, man, Damian Martinez. Tell the fans who are going to go into 2024 college football season what they need to know about those two dudes, man.
Oh yeah, I mean with Dame, you know what you're gonna get. He's bought out these last 2 years. I don't expect anything to change. The kid's a beast. He can roll out of bed and go rush for 100 plus. And that's something that that's just God given. But he's a hard worker too. And he's very serious about the game, but he also takes his craft serious. So the great teammate in the locker room. But for DJ, I'm excited for DJ. I know there's a lot of people, don't really give him the respect I feel like he deserves. Um, and that's just a guy that ever since the day he stepped on foot on campus, we sat down and we talked about what we wanted to accomplish, and we didn't accomplish everything we wanted to, but I know that was a guy that every time he stepped onto the field or in that facility, he was giving 100%. So he came to work, and I mean that's all you can ask for at that position. Came in head down. Some guys. They might feel like coming in with that transfer role, their spot is already guaranteed, but you never got that from him. And that he was a great teammate to everyone on the team. That's gonna be my dog for life. So I'm excited to see what he does at Florida State. I think he'll surprise some people next year. But I mean, like I said, I know what he can do. If you know football, you know what he can do. So yeah, I'm excited to see what that guy can do. Both those guys should have big years next year, and they'll make both their teams very happy.
Yeah, I'm, I live in the South Carolina area, so of course seeing DJU at Clemson, I was really happy with him going over to Corvallis and joining you guys,
Mhm.
and loved watching them play out there, having the ability to push the ball down the field, getting them to a pro style offense. And talking about that offense, man, how do you feel like that offense that you guys ran? A lot of under center stuff, play action things, having the block on the outside and in the slot. How has that prepared you for the NFL?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's like 10 of 32. It might even be more teams in the NFL run pro style offenses. So, they're starting to transition to that more into the at least into the league. But that's something we used to take a lot of stuff from NFL teams. A lot of stuff we'd watch be Miami Dolphins. We watched a lot of Miami Dolphins. We're running we call it Zach motion. You're running across the field like Tyreek Hill running 25-yard outs. Just being able to put that on tape. A lot of stuff we steal from 49ers. Just being able to run those same concepts. I feel like it's helped me out a lot just getting ready to that next level. But also I got to run, a real route tree on both sides. I wasn't just running goal balls or post or tunnel screen stuff like that. We try to mix it up, but I was running real route trees on both sides. I'm running every single route in the book, which a lot of guys they don't get that opportunity in college. So um, being able to be in that offense, we had some great coaches up there. They all knew what they were doing. So I feel like that's what's really going to help separate me, just because I ran a lot of that stuff already in college.
No, and it's something that I noticed. That's why, like, for me, it was like I was so impressed with watching your tape because you weren't just the average speedster, the guy that runs a 4.3, but I can't put him anywhere in one specific position. I got to gadget, touch him, and screens and everything else. Don't get me wrong, you can do that. I can't remember which game it was. I tweeted about it earlier where you took the wide receiver screen and outran everybody. I think it was you and I think it was Silas, number 7.
Yeah,
Look like y'all having like a little
Sidebar,
race at towards the end of it, man.
yeah,
But
he
it's like
took
your speed and
tried to
explosiveness,
take
bro.
off on me.
Yo, it's crazy. Like to watch you in open field, like that's where that special that's God-given speed that you have, and the fact that you know how to tempo it and control it. I think that's going to do a lot for you heading into the NFL. But talk to me, man. Pre-game, what does Ant like to listen to get amped? What do you listen to pre-game to get your mind right?
Man, I'm more of I'm a little bit of two. Earlier in the day, I like to listen to just really chill music. R&B, a lot of old school R&B. But yeah, throughout the day, I try and just relax. Watch a little film. Um, but really just I listen to just little bit calmer, more relaxing stuff. Then right before a game, I'll really just lock in and try and put on. I like to listen to like Chief Keef, old Lil Wayne. I like to listen to a lot of old Lil Wayne before games. Um, but yeah, man, I'm a little bit of both on game day. So I try not to get my nerves up too much and get too amped too early. But when it's game time, I'll put some of that like I said, old school Lil Wayne, the game stuff like that on.
No, no, and I like that process, right? Like you said, not don't get too amped too early, right? You want to kind of let it peak, let it
Hmm.
build up to where right before the game you're ready. You know that the juices are flowing, you know the blood's pumping, you ready to go out there and handle business, and that makes sense. Like the old school R&B, because you got a
Yeah.
smoothness to your game. You know what I mean? You got some old that R&B smoothness to your game, brother. So I appreciate that, man. Talk to me like for you to close this thing out, I want you to tell NFL fans that's listening to this, if their team selects you in the 2024 NFL draft, what type of receiver, player, and person will they be getting?
Oh yeah. So first of all, you're gonna get a receiver who can do it all. Full year in the slot, 2 full years on the outside. So, I can win in both. I put good stuff on tape, in both areas. Um, I can run the whole tree, like I mentioned earlier, but yeah, I'm more than, I think, getting me, I'm more than just, the take the top off type of guy. I think that's, I really started to really stamp that this pre-draft process, and and then obviously the special teams. I know I'm a guy that can come in and contribute from day one. And that's probably one of my favorite parts of my game, just because, there's not too many guys who, are willing to go back there and potentially take a hit. I don't like to think of it, but I like to just go out there and make plays. And that's something that I always remind myself is, playmakers make plays, and I'm a playmaker. So, you can figure out the rest. But you're gonna get a guy who's ready to show up every day and work. I'm a great teammate. I'm selfless. You know, I hate to lose more than I love to win, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people can't really say that. So I'm competitive every day. I'm showing up to compete. It doesn't matter what situation we're in. It could be walkthrough. I'm not losing a rep in walkthrough. So I'm a great teammate. Um, you know, a guy. My mom did 20 years in the Army, so that type of stuff in the community. That's very important to me from for where I grew up. So yeah, man, I just you're gonna get a playmaker, explosiveness, and a great teammate.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it, brother. Man, listen, I'll be in Indy for the combine. As you, man, praying for you. Hope you go out there, kill it, do your
Thank
thing,
you.
brother. Appreciate you coming on to the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, talking to our everydayers, because they are absolutely. I promise you, when you hit that 4.3, which I mean, that's my projection. I'm telling people, man, I think you're gonna hit sell 4.4. So you go out there and handle business. People gonna want to know who you are, and this is a podcast, and you coming on is gonna give them opportunity to learn everything about you, brother. I appreciate the time, man.
Oh man, I appreciate you having me. I'll see you next week in Indy.
For sure, for sure. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. $150. I don't think that's something that you want to play around with or miss, because this is a deal that is special. Guys, you can bet on all your favorite NBA players: LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, all right, Jamal Murray, and so much more, including betting on the teams they play for: the Miami Heat, the Denver Nuggets. You want to bet on the Minnesota Timberwolves with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert? You can do those things with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Guys, all you need to do is visit fanduel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. Visit fanduel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of, sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, family. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Start for me, our everydayers, man. That was wide receiver out of Oregon State, Anthony Gould. Really appreciate him taking the time out and joining me on today's show, on this bonus episode, to do that interview and just kind of talk about himself. So, guys, if you want to know, listen, you heard everything he said: the speed, the route running, the tempo, the football IQ and intelligence that he plays with. Guys, everything, man, everything that he talked about, right? The attention to detail. You can't want, and you can't phrase it or frame it any better than that, guys. He talked about everything, what makes him a special player, what makes him a special person, and what he brings to the table. Even went as far as being such a great teammate and talking about DJ Uiagalelei, his former quarterback from Oregon State in 2023, and his star running back, the big bruiser that is Damian Martinez, a guy that I'm hoping to have on the show. Me and Keith are hoping to have on the show this summer as we get close, when we get past the draft and closer to the college football season, man. But listen, guys, again, is he a one size fit all type receiver? Maybe not, man. But at the same time, you can't win in basketball. You know why? For you, if you're every day, you know the phrase, we want to build our wide receiver core like a basketball team. And you know what we can't do? We can't win with 5 Shaqs. We can't win with 5 Kareem Abdul-Jabbars. We can't win with 5 Steph Currys. We can't win with 5 of the same person, the same player, right? Because at the end of the day, you need variety. Okay, you can't, no matter if LeBron James is your GOAT or Michael Jordan's your GOAT. It doesn't matter who your GOAT is. You can't win with the same guy. You need different players to fit different roles, and that's why the X receivers aren't going to be slot receivers. Slot receivers not always going to be a Z receiver. Same thing with tight ends. Inline won't always be the attached, the slot receiver, the slot tight end, the pass catcher. H backs aren't exactly the same thing as the fullback. Tight end that can play fullback and inline, and then like you can't expect the same thing from every single prospect. So yes, some people are going to be saying, man, he's not tall enough for me. All right, that's fine. But I love a receiver that can run as fast as like I said, 4.3 is not official yet, right? But I do think that he can run. This dude got speed. I would be shocked if he doesn't run 4.3. But at the same time, his game speed over game and tape speed over testing speed. But when it comes down to Anthony Gould, man, he's going to give you, for a guy with his speed, he knows how to tempo, use pacing. Like he said, go from 0 to 60, but then go from 60 to 100 in the exact same rep, in the exact same route. That's special stuff. You know what I mean? It's the same thing we talk about with quarterbacks. It doesn't matter how big your arm is if you can't control it. As a receiver, as a running back, it doesn't matter how fast you are if you can't control your speed. And this young man knows how to do that, guys. So listen, we thank you guys so much for tapping in with us here on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. And shout out again to Anthony Gould, wide receiver out of Oregon State. Appreciate it and love your brother for taking the time. But guys, you already know what you can do. Go follow me on X at DP_NFL. All right. Thank you so much for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Go and subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Join us again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.